Welcome to your Fantasy Fulfilled, right here on ESPN the Network. I'm your host, Latasha Miles, a.k.a. Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, and I'm back like the Bills, the Colts, the Lions, and the Raiders, coming off a bye week. Oh, and you all be sure to go out and get your copies of my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, The Ultimate Survival Guide for Relationships and Households During Football Season, available right now on Amazon.com and CreateSpace.com. And I want to send a sincere thank you to all of my supporters so far, and please continue to do so with additional projects and ventures. I really appreciate you so much. And here we are headed into NFL week number 11 and the week of Thanksgiving. Speaking of me being thankful, and let me go ahead and get this thing kicked off by hopefully being one of the first people to tell you Happy Thanksgiving. And if you have concerns on how to manage your football team as we get closer to the playoff push in your respective leagues, then I'm here to make sure that you don't get the stuffing beat out of you. And if you're in search for some substitutions while the Chargers, the Falcons, the Jets, and the Super Bowl champs, the Broncos, are all on a bye week, I got you covered like a blanket as if you were sitting outside at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Hey, have no fear, Joan Madden is here. So let's get this thing kicked off for week number 11 like a 2-plate minimum at your auntie's house on Thanksgiving, the Automatics. And let's start with Marcus Mariota. Now, I had this guy as a sleeper on a previous episode of your Fantasy Fulfilled earlier this season, but he has catapulted as a sure shot starter for this week. In case you've been living under Plymouth Rock the past few weeks, the second-year signal caller has emerged into a top 5 quarterback, utilizing all of his weapons and doing most of his damage through the air. And if there were awards for second-year players, he would definitely be in the running for Sophomore of the Year. In addition, he has some balance with keeping his running backs involved, and he can run the ball himself pretty well, averaging over 5 yards a carry. Also, the former Oregon Duck has a passer rating just under 100, averaged 293 passing yards over the past trio of games, and has thrown for 17 touchdowns compared to a 5 interceptions ratio in the past half dozen games. And he's playing one of the worst defenses this week against his divisional rival, the the Indianapolis Colts. So this is your sure shot lock at the quarterback position this week. Another dish for your automatic starters this week is Robert Kelley of the Redskins in their primetime game set for tonight. Now, this guy is sure to give you more than 12 plays as he's recently been promoted to the starter. I wish I could say the same for the recently injured Matt Jones, but costly fumbles have him under the doghouse. I mean, he was even a healthy scratch from the Redskins lineup on Sunday, so he's no threat to Kelley. In addition, the Redskins face a very charitable defense tonight when they take on the Packers. Green Bay is showing increasing weaknesses weekly, so that's another reason why I believe you can fly high with Kelley on your roster this week. And the increase in productivity from Kelley with his 184 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4.3 yards per carry over the past 2 weeks also reminds me of something. I just can't think of what it is. Oh yeah, a sure shot running back in your starting lineup this week. With Robert Kelley as an option, this is number 1 at the running back position for this week. Now, over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go, and let's pick up another plateful on the automatic starters list, and that's Stefon Diggs. Yes, I know that the Vikings have been reeling and losing 4 straight games since coming off of that bye and starting with a 5-0 record. And yes, I know they've fallen out of first place in the NFC North, and I know that they are performing Signs North Turner as their offensive coordinator. But Diggs has been digging deep and has landed himself as a spot as a bona fide starter for week number 11. Diggs has quietly had the most impressive 2-week stretch over the past couple of weeks, and even Josh Norman has recognized it, and he's called him out publicly. Against Detroit and Washington, Diggs finished with a total of 26 catches and 244 yards. Now, granted, he's had no touchdowns in that span, but he's constantly targeted, and he made history by being the first person in NFL history to have consecutive games of catching 13 passes. In addition, he's playing against a struggling Arizona defense, and they even had a hard time containing San Francisco last week. Now, Patrick Peterson is an incredible DB, but he also gives up the occasional big plays, so advantage Stefon Diggs there as well. The Vikings offense has been difficult to look at this season, but Diggs has dug himself a bright spot, and you should definitely start him today. At the tight end position, I have a surprising pick for you here, but I think that you should roll with Julius Thomas. Now, I must admit, Jacksonville doesn't utilize him as properly as they should, and he's only had 4 touchdowns in 8 games this season, but in a favorable matchup against the Lions today, that should change. Detroit has surrendered 9 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions to tight ends alone in 9 games this season, and they have a ratio of 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Yikes. The Motown defense just doesn't have the personnel to cover the 6'5", 260-pound prize acquisition picked up in the offseason. In addition, this game could be a shootout because you're going to have to put up some points against Matt Stafford and company. And Thomas's quarterback is the king of garbage points, as Jacksonville usually has to play from behind, so some late scampering of more passes from Blake Bortles helps in Julius' case today as well. Plus, we're moving into the 3rd week of Nathaniel Hackett's experiment as their new offensive coordinator. And you know how the saying goes, the 3rd time's the charm. So add Thomas to your menu and hopefully he'll gobble up some points for you today. Now, as for your bench warmers, guys, you should sit this week. And keeping with the Thanksgiving theme, the jive turkeys this week. Guys that you want to start, but like Bryson Tiller said, yeah, that part, those guys. And I'm going to kick this section off with Carson Palmer. What a difference a year makes, huh? Now, the Cardinals don't look as bad as they did in that NFC Championship game back in January, but they also don't look like a team that got to the NFC Championship game either. It seems like they are still suffering from the hangover from that game, and it all starts with an aging Palmer, as a closing window is upon his offense, and it just isn't clicking on all cylinders at this moment. The 14-year veteran has been very pedestrian this season, and even though Minnesota has lost 4 straight games, let's not overlook the fact that this is a game on the road for the Cardinals, and the Vikings still have a decent pass rush that Palmer is up against. And honestly, Palmer has only really produced in week number 2 and some garbage time in Carolina late last month. Even his 376-yard performance last week ranked him as the number 16 quarterback. Because Minnesota also has a lackluster offense and probably a heavy dose of David Johnson for the Cardinals in today's game, this should be a low-scoring contest, so not too many opportunities there for Carson to showcase a lot of fantasy points. And because of this, Palmer doesn't deserve a seat at your Thanksgiving Day table, so send him to the bench instead. I'm also sending Frank Gore to the bench this week. Yes, I'm aware that the Colts have had additional time to prepare for this game today, as they were off last week. And yes, I'm aware of Gore's last appearance before the bye, where he had 2 touchdowns and he's averaged 4.1 yards per carry, and that he also has had some receiving touchdowns, but I just don't like his matchup today against AFC South divisional rival, the Titans. Other than that gashing from Melvin Gordon a couple of weeks ago, the Titans have allowed less than 100 yards per game from the rushing opponents and only 5 touchdowns on the season. Plus, Gore's quarterback, Andrew Luck, has been tripping since he got that contract over the summer, and he has declined, and so has his productivity. Luck also throws the ball way too much for Gore to serve as any type of threat against the Titans defense today, too. And even though there is no major concern of a timeshare backfield from Robert Turbin, Gore just simply doesn't touch the ball enough. Couple that with the Titans defense being on a roll right now, it's best that you take a to-go plate from your auntie's house and take Gore out of your lineup and have him to go on your bench today as well. Moving along to Mike Evans, and he needs to be benched this week as well. For starters, the Bucs are playing in one of the toughest stadiums as they travel to Arrowhead today. Secondly, the Chiefs defense has 13 interceptions on the season. Yeah, 13. Now, they've had a bye week, so they've only played 9 games so far. So you do the math. Yeah, they've snatched more than one interception per game, and they have also scored off these turnovers as well. Thirdly, there's a guy on the Chiefs named Marcus Peters, and he is a ball hawk. He swarms, and anytime the ball is thrown in his direction, you can count on him to be on it like bees to honey. I just really think that Evans won't be able to get off like we know that he's capable of today, and I expect his efficiency level to be affected as a result. Jameis Winston has missed Doug Martin sorely as he makes him a better quarterback overall, and I think he will rely on him heavily, as Justin Houston should also return to the lineup today and will provide them with some elite pass rushing. And because the Chiefs are better at defending the pass, not necessarily in yards, but in creating turnovers and their tackling, I think putting Evans on your football plate is a no-no, as Peters will snatch food from his production today. And for the last bench warmer on today's segment, make some room for Tyler Eifert. He did miss some time with injury, and he returned last week healthy against the Giants. I know that Andy Dalton missed him tremendously, and he wants to utilize Eifert today, but this matchup against Buffalo might nullify the Red Rifles' plans. There's not really one player in particular for the Bills, as they are extremely fortunate in having a young, instinctive core of talent on their defense, especially in the secondary, and they're getting healthy at the right time. And this is a defense coached by Rex Ryan, and they have a specialty in pass rush and sacking quarterbacks coming through the middle. Now, I'm sure Eifert is looking forward to some golden brown turkey, some smooth brown gravy on Thanksgiving, but I know he's not looking forward to the combination of linebackers, the Browns, Preston Brown, and Zach Brown. They'll definitely throw Dalton off of his game, and consequently, Eifert will suffer. You know you're going to be wrapping your to-go plates with Reynolds wrap and Saran wrap, so go ahead and wrap Tyler Eifert up too, because it's a wrap for his productivity today, so send him to your bench. Again, if you're thinking about starting these guys, the jive turkeys today, if you will, you better do what Bryson Tiller said, and yeah, that part. Now, for my favorite part of the show, hey, you need to get up and get out and get something. Don't let these waiver wire studs pass you by. You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't sleep since their stock is not high. Ow! As I remix Outkast and Goody Mob right there, okay? And in keeping with the Thanksgiving theme, these are the desserts, you know, your sweet pickups of the week. All right, no doubt. And let's start this portion of the show off with a name that you're gonna hear a lot over Thanksgiving, and that's Cousins. And I'm referring to Kirk Cousins as the Redskins take on a reeling Packers defense later tonight. I could say that this is more about what Green Bay is doing wrong versus what the Redskins are doing right, but Captain Kirk actually surprised me last week against the Vikings as he carved their defense by completing 22 of his 33 passes and adding 262 yards to his tally. That's been his range over the past 4 weeks, and I expect the same thing at home in this primetime matchup tonight. Besides, I really don't think that the 1 week is enough time for Green Bay's secondary to heal from the slicing and dicing in my mama paying for Martin voice that Marcus Mariota did to them last week. Now, Green Bay is definitely depleted on defense, and as a result, quarterbacks have successfully been able to complete 65% of their passes against them. And because Cousins is a low-risk, high-completion type of signal caller, you should add him to your family tree as your sleeper as we head into this week of Thanksgiving. Now, I know turkey has enzymes in it and they can put you to sleep, but before you get started on that first piece, pick up James Starks as another sleeper this week. He's missed some time with an injury, but now that he's healthy and a starter and available in about 65% of fantasy leagues, yeah, that's about as rare as being able to find a piece of sweet potato pie at your auntie's house on the day after Thanksgiving. So you better gobble up on this opportunity. Now, I know Christian Michael is on the horizon, but most likely not for another week or two. And I'm not saying that Starks is going to be the best pickup that you've ever had, but at this point in the season with no Eddie Lacy, Ty Montgomery clearly not standing out as the Packers' main running back, as he's actually a wide receiver, and now Davis being back with the Chiefs. I meant the Chiefs. Thanksgiving on my mind there. I'm just a little hungry, my bad. But anyway, Starks is going to be your go-to guy. With the Packers on the cusp of possibly losing their 5th straight game, it's starting to become more and more obvious that they need to take some pressure off of Aaron Rodgers and run the ball more if they want to win. And with that in mind, I think that down the stretch, Starks will start to receive a double-digit amount of touches, so you should be stuffing him on your rosters. Now, here's a guy who'll be worth a hill of beans this week, and that's Tyreek Hill. Although Alex Smith really isn't a quarterback to throw a deep ball, Jeremy Maclin gave him his best opportunities to do so. But he's been sidelined with a nagging growing injury. And here comes Hill, a guy who has had the fastest 40 time in the combine this spring. And he provides a burst and spark that the Chiefs needed. Tyreek is fresh off of a season-high performance of 10 catches for 89 yards this past Sunday in Charlotte against the Panthers. His speed also garnered him a 12-yard run in that contest, and he's caught 11 out of his 14 passes, gained over 100 total yards from scrimmage, and he's grabbed 4 scores on the season. He's also shown that he can do these things just as smooth as Thanksgiving Day gravy, regardless of who the quarterback is, as he's been able to successfully mesh with Smith and Nick Foles a couple of weeks ago. And with the favorable home cooking matchup against Tampa Bay this afternoon, he'll be a popular pickup, and you need to make some room for him on your fantasy football roster plate. Wrapping things up with your sleeper tight end position, and you can go with either one on this one. I'm referring to Dwayne Allen and Jack Doyle, both of the Colts. Now, I must admit, I was extremely concerned about Allen's productivity coming off of his ankle injury and because of the possibility as to what Doyle might do during his absence, but they're actually contributing in a kind of 2-for-1 deal. This duo has combined for a total of 74 targets and caught 55 of those passes, close to 600 yards and half a dozen touchdowns. Their quarterback, Andrew Luck, is considered also a king of garbage time with points and yards, and Indy is often playing from behind, and regardless if they are, Luck is going to throw the ball at least 35 to 50 times a game, so advantage for Doyle and Allen there as well. Now, they're not going to skyrocket up the charts with massive numbers, but if you're looking for replacements while your tight end is on a bye week, or if they're injured, or if they don't have a favorable matchup, here's a couple of them that you can turn to. In addition, the Colts have some games against the Steelers, the Jets, and today against divisional rival the Titans, and those next 3 tight end friendly matchups are something to definitely be thankful for. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of Your Fantasy Fulfilled. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and please don't forget to go out and get your copy of my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, The Ultimate Survival Guide for Relationships and Households During Football Season, available right now on CreateSpace.com and Amazon.com. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is GSP in the Network, and continue to stay tuned. And besides, I was talking about food and plates and eating, and Thanksgiving is Thursday, so yeah, I gotta go. Man, I'm hungry. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy time with your families, good food, good folks, good fun, and definitely good football. So just chill to the next episode. Thanks again so much. We'll catch you next time, and I'm out. What's going on, good people? It's your girl again, Latasha Miles, a.k.a. Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at she_SPN and at Facebook at Latasha Joan Madden Miles. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is SheXP the Network. Hey, I'm kind of a big deal. You know, I'm a little bit cute, got some beauty, got some brains. That way on that channel, you'll be able to see the interviews that I've done. Some of the famous people that I worked with, the projects I've worked on, things of that nature. And don't forget to log on to CreateSpace.com and Amazon.com and get your copies of my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, The Ultimate Survival Guide for Relationships and Households During Football Season. I appreciate your support. And hey, I gotta run. They're over here calling me on the other line. I gotta manage another fantasy football league. I'm out.
Gon' kick it off there, whoa. Gon' kick it off there, whoa. Hold up, we living big dreams now. As it seems now, we doing big things now. You on a small scale, we do it nationally. With an all-girls squad, now that's a fantasy league. Whoa, you better stay in pocket, man. Come across that line, they end up playing.